Hey everyone, Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle. It is a little after 5:30 on our Saturday. So I've been watching the storms down across western and southwestern Oklahoma, and so there are now a couple that are beginning to become more in the category of being tornadic. So because of that nature, we're going to go ahead and start our tornado coverage here live from the studios. So we're going to talk about where these storms are currently, where they're headed, what contains in them. Mostly it's been a big hail event for a lot of these thunderstorms, as they've been what we call left movers. We talked about that at the broadcast earlier today, which pose very little tornado threat versus the other ones, which are right movers. So again, we'll get into all that and more. So thanks for tuning in on YouTube World, Facebook World, Twitter X, and Rumble. So good, glad to have you. Make sure you tell your friends and family about the coverage. Be sure to share it on your social media pages. That way everybody can take a look and get some good coverage, just scientific research back behind it. And we'll just take it nice, calm, cool, collected. That way you keep your wits about you as we deal with some tornadic storms here across Oklahoma. I did look at some of the data that was coming in also while waiting for these storms to intensify, and there's still a pretty good cap across central Oklahoma. So we're going to see what happens as these storms out to our west starts to move into that area. Once we get dew point values into the upper 70s, that will really help to erode the cap if they make it this far. Right now, those are in North Texas, far southern Oklahoma. But here's a look right now across the metro, Oklahoma City, for example. And if you look out here across the state, this little box you see here that's kind of highlighted in pink is the tornado watch. This is another particularly dangerous situation, meaning that thunderstorms here may contain strong to violent tornadoes should they develop. So right now, that is what we've got working on in our favor or against our favor, however you want to look at it for this evening. Depends on if you like storms or not. Most people don't want those. If you look like out west on I-40, this has been a hail producer the whole time, right around Hinton and Bridgeport. This is moving off to the northeast, right around the Geary area. Like I said, there's nothing at all tornadic within this. It's just been hail, maybe some pockets of wind, but I really haven't seen much of that lately. This one down here in Chickasha was going strong there for a while, and it actually started to fall apart, which is interesting because it started to get its act together. So it may be a sign that the cap is a little too strong here as it moves into central Oklahoma. If you look down here into the Duncan region, more storms stretches from there to Comanche, on into southwestern Oklahoma, and then into northwest Texas. There were some tornado warnings down here earlier. Those have since either, actually this one's been continued. It's now turned into a purple, which means a tornado has been sighted. This is way down here into northwestern Texas. You can see these icons around Windhurst. So they did have reports of a tornado in and around the town. At one point, I think they believed it was what they call a multi-vortex. Just means like little dancing tubes. Probability of a tornado within this storm is at 37%, and this one's moving to the east at about 32 miles per hour. This is down here in, again, North Texas, Clay. That's where this one's at. So Clay County, confirmed tornado located 5 miles west of Blue Grove, moving east at 30. Blue Grove and Lake Arrowhead is in the path of this one. All right, so I know a lot of people are vacationing in and around the area for the holiday, so we'll take kind of an expanded view of all this stuff. Let's go up here in northwest Oklahoma. These particular storms, believe it or not, probably have the best chance of becoming tornadic in the short term in the southwestern Kansas. So we're going to take a look at these. I'm going to switch radar views here as well. All right, so we'll see how they've done here as I put this into motion. This one here in Arnett actually went up really strong. It had a really nice mid-level mesocyclone with it, and it started to get a little act together. But then look what happened. It split. And splitting was a forecasted issue with today's thunderstorms, which disrupts the flow. Now, when you have a split storm, that means one goes to the east, northeast, and then one goes to the north and northeast. All right, so the one that splits to the left is called the left mover. It contains hail, very rarely a tornado. It can happen, but very rarely, compared to the one on the right mover. Now, because this one now has half its energy stolen from it, this one basically has to go through a reorganizational phase, but with the extreme instability around the atmosphere, that shouldn't take long. See folks up in Sharon, Vicey, Mutual, just kind of a heads up. in this region. As this storm intensifies, it may begin to once again produce a significant mesocyclone and therefore a wall cloud and potential funnel and or tornado in its life cycle as it gets into more of a favorable area and it undergoes some storm dynamics. All right, let's go up here from there into Kansas, just across the border. This is just north of Buffalo, and there was a report of a rotating wall cloud within this little hook echo region. So this is an actual hook that's riding along the state line here, just east of 183. Let's see, this is right along East Road 20 Street, 1960 is where this particular hook echo is located. All right, so we'll see what this particular storm has inside of it. So let's take a look here. All right, so right now this one is behaving. Let me switch to a different radar view just to look at it from a different angle. So remember, just because a storm has a hook echo does not mean it will produce a tornado. We have a lot of hook echoes in these thunderstorms that don't produce tornadoes. But that is where you would look for that particular area. All right, so even from a different radar view, no difference in the outcome. Still has a little bit to go before that hook tightens up, which is a precursor. And then we'll look at the velocity data to see how they all work out together. All right. So that's for these storms up here into northwest Oklahoma and into southwestern Kansas. So you guys up here in southwestern Kansas, I'll have to keep an eye on these because they could become tornadic here over the next hour. Now, as we get into the 6:30 to 7 o'clock time frame, that's when shear should continue to increase quite a bit more. And that is when these storms should have a much easier time becoming tornadic. All right, let's go take a look down back into central Oklahoma. Let's see here. These guys, again, still kind of falling apart. Right now, looks like Duncan's got one of the stronger storms and back out into southwest Oklahoma as well. So if you're in Oklahoma City and you're going, okay, thanks for the quick update. So what's up? You know, I got some outdoor plans. I'm at a wedding. I got kids running around with a bouncy ball. I don't know, whatever you got going on. These storms are on the far western fringe of town, just on the western end of Canadian County. They'll pass to our north and west toward Kingfisher. So they're not going to be affecting the immediate Oklahoma City metro area. Now, we do have other thunderstorms. Now, these were actually moving more to an eastward fashion. Now they're kind of falling apart. They may kind of move more northeast. But like I said, they're falling apart. So unless we get some new development in this area, very light precipitation, we're not going to have anything substantial moving through the city. But keep in mind that in this particular case here, there's some lightning within this storm. Lightning can strike from this storm to here or to here, believe it or not. In other words, you can get these little rogue lightning strikes far away from the storm itself. So even though the storm's not in our backyard, just know that is a possibility. Okay, we have another storm that's kind of building up here around the Sentinel area. There's been a few of them that have kind of come up and down in this area. Let me go back on a replay. So there you go. So there's some new developments just trying to bubble up in this region. This one here in Sentinel kind of moving into a northeastern fashion. So we'll see how these mature over the next half hour. If they go up quite easily or if they're having some trouble. Then you have more development down here around East Duke. So we'll see how those happen in the next half hour or so. All right, that means let's just focus a little bit more on this far southern Oklahoma storm for Duncan and Comanche. And this is south of Oklahoma City metro area. This is in Stevens County. So far, just a standard typical storm that is behaving. So right now, the only tornadic storm is down here just south of the Red River, just on the other side. That'll be affecting, let's see, Dick Worsham, Belleville, Ringgold, Belcherville, Stoneburg, just the cell itself. As far as any tornadic activity goes, it's weak, but there looks like a small, weak tornado. Pretty much located, give me a road here. Blue Grove Cemetery Road. That's the southeast road between there and Chapman. There's a couple of roads here that aren't named on this map. And it looks like a little highway here. Chapman Road. Let's see. No, it's got to be another highway. Let's do this. See if this one will show it. Oh, 172. So 172 and State Highway 1485, or yeah, so 148 actually, 148. So that's where the intersection will be for this weak tornado as it's moving through that area. So of course, be in your shelters anytime you're under a tornado warning. And this is down here into Texas, just south of Henrietta. So this will pass the northern side for some hail down around the Tuttle area, looks like, along the Red River. But the Triadic side should stay in this vicinity along, kind of paralleling the river. At some point, if this storm does cross over into Oklahoma, it probably wouldn't be until we got toward the either Leon or Thackerville, Marietta area. And that's still over an hour or so away. So we'll see if it still holds together. Now, if it starts to make a hard right turn, well, then obviously it'll never cross in Oklahoma, and then it'll go over to Gainesville, up toward Denton, and that is a possibility. So if we look down to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, by the way, here in North Texas, you do have some tornadoes down here, which is well south of I-20. Let's see here, around Carbon. All right, and then if you look here, now this will be moving to the east. Got a long ways to go. Now, Dallas-Fort Worth, obviously you're far removed from that. But I did look, interesting enough, at your forecast sounding that the Weather Service took a couple of hours ago over your area, and you are barely capped. In other words, you almost broke the cap yourself because you heated up so much today. Now, we're a little bit stronger here in Oklahoma City, so the difference is halfway in between. In other words, there's going to be where the cap is weak in this area is probably due to some very higher dew point values. So we have to go look at the surface maps to find out where that is. This particular surface map does show some dew point values around 75 here and here. There's 77, 77, 78, 76, 77. So where you see these dew point values in the upper 70s, that is where the cap is extremely weak. So when you have a dew point value of 75 here, that means it's right on the border. 74, Oklahoma City looks like 71. So there you go. So this is a difference a few miles can make when you're trying to decide which part of the state has a better opportunity of breaking the cap and getting some thunderstorms to go. The dry line is way out here in the eastern Texas panhandle. The NAM, once again, 3-kilometer NAM, took it. It was perfect on the position of the dry line, beat every model out there. I second guessed it today at lunchtime, and I shouldn't have, but there it is. It's out there. So it's still the focus to try to get some more thunderstorms to go in this region, and there probably will. We also have these winds out of the southeast, and then they end up kind of, there was at least earlier more of a south wind in this region, so there was, in other words, a little convergence out ahead of the dry line. So this is still a favored area for storm initiation and intensification. So we'll see what happens over the next hour as far as anything bubbling up. So again, if you're checking in new and you're like, hey, what's going on? Oklahoma City right now, quiet. We have a weak storm around Chickasha. Quiet to the east, quiet to the north. Now, also, if you're new here, you've got to learn your county. You have to figure out what county you live in. You have to figure out what major town or city that you're in or next to, so you can get your bearings when we show you all these maps. Because we move quick, we move fast, and a lot of times we're zoomed into areas or you don't know where it is. The easiest thing, though, to understand is if I'm not in your area, that's a good thing. I'm only on here to cover tornadoes. So if I'm not on here spending time in your city, in your town, it's for a reason, and that's a good reason. Now, if I am spending a lot of time in your area, that's not a good reason. So that's the easiest way to break that down. All right, but right now in Oklahoma, there are no tornado warnings. We'll see if that changes. Let's take a look around again. All right, so that left-moving supercell is still just basically a little hailmaker. And even then, let's see what looks like a loft, because at the surface, I'm not overly impressed with it. So, yeah, look at this. The hail core is only around 10 to 15,000 feet. Let's see what it looks like otherwise. Storm itself is about 55 to near 60,000 feet, so it was a tall thunderstorm. All right, again, we'll watch for these to get a little bit better organized. This one here, let's go back. It looks like it's 3 different cells in the region. The north one fell apart, and these two are going to try to merge right over Norge and Ninica. Just some lightning associated with this. No big deal. Small storm. Let's see. This one here that we saw earlier around East Duke continues to intensify. And then we've got the Duncan storm. Temperature of 80 degrees, a dew point of 75 feeding into it. Probability of a tornado is only 4%. So quite low. In this environment, I think it's going to take a higher number to get a tornado. In other words, I think we'll have to be above 50% for that. But your little circulation center for like a developing mesocyclone is pretty much right over Duncan. So it's possible you guys could be seeing a nice lowering / wall cloud in your area, given the structure on the radar. And let's see, back here in Ranelagh, Cookie Town, a couple of little storms down here, normal stuff. Let's see, got some, anything else? A little shower popping up there. So you might get a little, occasional little pop-up showers that do move around. And we'll probably have a few of those here around the Oklahoma City metro area over the next hour. And then we'll see if any of these storms actually manage to make their way in here. Let's focus on northwest Oklahoma again. See what these storms are up to. So this one here around Sharon is the one I told you would have to reorganize, but it could become tornadic over the next hour. Still working on it. And the one north of that's a left mover, so it's just a little hail. And not even big hail at that, small hail. Okay, so this one up here in Kansas, this one still has what looks like a little bit of a hook on it. Now this one's got some big hail. Algorithm's tripping at 2.35 inches. Probability of a tornado is at 15%. Let's see the one north of that, Mullinville, Greensburg. Standard stuff up here. Nothing crazy or out of the ordinary. See what this one looks like. Now this hail core is obviously more robust, thicker, up around 30,000 feet. DBZ only up to about 65 before it backs off. So golf ball size hail for sure on this one. As far as this little hook appendage, it still quite isn't what it needs to look like as a precursor for tornadogenesis. Looks like a little RFD dominant. So we'll see what happens again over the next half hour to see if it intensifies and it gets that structure back. But this is going to hug the state line basically. So the Supercell storm with all the hail is on the Kansas line, and south of that is where the potential tornado would be, is hugging pretty much right along the state line. We did get a report here, just now came in, of golf ball size hail from law enforcement. So I'm a little early. I was kind of sitting here and doing some housekeeping because I knew once I got on, I figured I'd be on until midnight or so. So I wanted to pace myself and not get on until it looks like tornadoes were getting close. And there were a couple of storms that looked getting close. Then one just fell apart, vaporized. The other one split. So that went that idea. But we'll just sit here and see if anything organizes here quickly. Have some chasers out today. Russ, he was in Chickasha earlier. Chance is also out there. Jeremy's out there as well. Let's see, Paul is out there. Yeah, I think he was in Weatherford. Yeah, nice pretty rainbow. Let's see, I don't think Corey's out today. I know Jeff Petrosky was out earlier. Let's see. He goes back and forth live between his Twitter page and his YouTube page. So he was up around Buffalo. I think this is when that storm probably looked its best. So he was talking about it back then. You know, Reed and the team, they're out there somewhere, of course. Looks like no intercept anywhere. They're still in pursuit. Still trying to pick a storm to jump on. All right, so we'll check in these different feeds during the evening. So the lightning is increasing a little bit for this one in Chickasha and Dibble, coming into Blanchard. So that'll pass just south of the metro. Might be clipping you guys in Norman, otherwise Noble, Purcell, and Dibble's in the path of that one. Looks like a new mesoscale discussion was put out, so we're going to take a look at that. And we'll also look at the warn-on forecast to see what's changed. Alright, so we'll do that real quick first. This is the warn-on forecast. This is our short-term model. It'll only go that a couple hours. It takes the current conditions of where the storms are, factors in the environment, and then predicts their movement and their actions based off the best real-time data we can put into it, cap strength, all that kind of stuff. So for this one, let's see. So that's going to be 5:30. So let's zip on in here to 6. So 6 o'clock. Which is now, it's hinting at these storms continuing. This one here also continuing. And then there's a hint of just some others trying to pop up in this region. And then you have your southern area, your blob heading this way. We forward this on with time. So let's go like 7 o'clock. So there's 7. All right, these two up here end up with helicity tracks, which means at some point it thinks it was either tornadic or producing quite a bit of hail and wind. And then down here in south in Texas as well. Maybe even one here. Let's see the other members. There's let's see, 18 members that run. So we'll see what they look like. So most of them are in agreement that the north cluster and the south cluster is where most of the action is, with not much in between. Remember I told you that this is a potential outcome at noon today, and the model set it, so it'd be foolish, not to use that as a basis for your forecast. It's just an idea, and I said if you want the most accurate place for tornadoes today would be across far northern Oklahoma, southern Kansas, and the second batch in far southern Oklahoma, northern Kansas, or northern Texas. So basically both along each state line. Now in between, the models really didn't do much. Doesn't mean nothing couldn't happen, it's just the favored areas are north and south. And it looks like that may pan out. We'll see. Depends what happens with these storms out western Oklahoma. But
all right, Aaron, I am about to be on Highway 58 North, just south of Canton. I am heading for the Sharon storm.
Roger that. Thanks, Jeremy. All right, so he's going to get on the Sharon storm. So we'll see. That's what the model data shows in the short term. We'll see how well it verifies. Okay, so let's go read this discussion that came out. Threat for all severe hazards, including 4-inch size hail and strong tornadoes, continues. All right, so discussion. Regional radar imagery has shown a messy convective evolution across northwest Texas and southwest Oklahoma over the past 2 hours, with initially close proximity initiation and numerous left splits contributing to numerous interactions. Some trend back to a more discrete mode may be evolving, with 2 right-moving supercells now apparent over Cotton County and Archer and Clay counties in northwest Texas. The southernmost supercell appears to be the strongest currently, with a strong low-level rotation and 60 knots ecotop, or 60,000 feet ecotops, both noted in the radar imagery. Despite some boundary layer cooling due to anvil shading that came in today, in other words, the high clouds, the cirrus clouds you saw outside that stopped us from getting any hotter, the air mass ahead of these cells is still extremely buoyant. Mesoanalysis estimates a large area of up to 4,000 capes remains from around Texas to southwest Oklahoma and into central Oklahoma. Strong vertical shear exists as well, with over 60 knots in the lowest 6 kilometers. Bulk shear sample with the VAD profiles at both the radar sites. Some modest convective inhibition is likely in place downstream. All right, so when they say some modest convective inhibition is likely in place downstream, that means the cap is stronger in areas just downstream of the thunderstorms. Let's see here. Particularly given now the cooler surface temperatures. All right. However, the organized character of the ongoing storms, coupled with intense large-scale ascent, should help these storms persist in spite of this capping feature. The overall environment remains supportive of very large hail, up to 4 inches in diameter, strong damaging winds, and tornadoes. Additional development is possible in the wake of this main cluster across southwest Oklahoma, where the air mass remains unstable. There may be some influence from storm outflow, but the large-scale ascent is just now beginning to arrive in this area, with additional convective inhibition still possible. All right, so basically it means that the storm system that is kicking all this stuff off is just now entering the region that we're focused on. So this is kind of an earlier kickoff before most of that lift in the atmosphere arrived, because we had temperatures hitting the convective point to where storms could go. All right, so basically all that means is watch these same areas for redevelopment and for continued threat of a tornado. And that was focused in this little line right here. Is this the one? I got too many circles on here. Maybe it was this one. Yeah. So that does include, this area. So Oklahoma City and points southward in that discussion. All right, well, let's see how Oklahoma City is faring right now. This is that storm, Chickasha.
Yeah, it fell apart. I am eyeing the storm in Mangum that's going to come up toward the city.
All right, that was Russ. He was on this Chickasha storm looking west when it fell apart, and so it has to reorganize. And it may eventually, but it's going to have to be as it gets probably in this region. And then we'll see what happens with the cap strength. This will be a good precursor to see how well those storms handle the environment directly overhead. All right, and then let's see. Jeremy was also, I think, headed out here. Did he say Hobart? I think, yeah, around here. So he's probably going to see what this storm does as it comes over Hobart. So far, these storms haven't done much of anything. They have not explosively developed. Water temperatures in this area. 92 over 70. Yeah. This one over here is 80 over 71. 82 over 64. Yeah, so the low level moisture still just quite hasn't arrived in this region to fuel these storms. How about our one that came out of Duncan? Any different? Nah, just struggling. Our guy down here that is coming out of eastern Clay County, heading up toward Ringgold. Let's see how this one looks. Oh, let me switch radar sites, by the way. Let me get one closer. All right, probability of a tornado is at 37% down here. Not overly impressed on the rotation for that storm. This is the hook, though, right over town, so it does have a wall cloud with it. It might even have a funnel. As far as the data is concerned on the radar, though, velocity is not very strong. No signature for a debris ball or anything like that. But it has had a history of producing tornadoes, so stay in your shelters. If you're in Dix Worsham and east of Henrietta, looks like it'll probably come up on US Highway 82 and Doss Loop Road. Currently, like I said, it's right over the town. All right, so that's that one. Movement on this one has been a slight drift to the east, or drift to the north, I believe. Let's see. So started here. Oh, it jotted. Oh, look at that. Okay. So what happens when a storm does a quick move like that in this environment, it means that the mesocyclone and the tornado completely collapsed and the storm lost it. And so it became what we call less rooted at the time, which means it went more with the flow, which is more to the north-northeast here in this particular case. So it's still the storm to watch, though, as far as anything tornadic is concerned. Let's see, these guys up here, they are not doing well at all. They are falling apart. I think that cap is a bigger factor. So that's the deal. So this time around, I saw the parameters, the ingredients. I told you guys a few days ago that get ready. It's going to be a lot of hype on Saturday. There's going to be a lot of things shown and people worked up because of the ingredients. It was a very classic setup for severe storms. And it still is the case. So I'm not knocking that. That's all accurate. The difference was that the models weren't unified. They were not in unison of the cap being weak enough to allow all of these discrete supercells to develop and be tornado producers. So plus they had a signature of left movers, so it splits, which also eliminates or reduces that threat. So,
hey, sorry, AT, we've been out of the loop. We're coming into Watonga and then probably going to go north.
All right, so because of that, lost my train of thought. Because of that, right now we're having these storms that are struggling to become tornadic, basically. And they're struggling to keep themselves together as they get into this area where it seems that the cap is still pretty substantial. And if you're new, you don't know what the cap means. Basically, it just means warm air several thousand feet above the ground, 4,000 to 7,000 feet. That prevents storms from really getting what they need to do, really growing tall or even growing at all, becoming tornadic, all kinds of things. So it's a good thing to have. It helps to limit storms completely, or at least reduce their coverage. All right, let's go up here to northwest Oklahoma again. It's been a while. This was my thought, probably had the best opportunity to produce tornadoes in the short term. Let's see, this one in Kansas, just across the state line, RFD, so gusted out, and there's no hook echo on it anymore, so this storm's going to have to reorganize. Probability of tornadoes at 26%. All right, the one south from there, standard weak thunderstorm, nothing to it. And then the one down there for Sharon and Mutual. Let's see what happens here. So this one has a good mid-level rotation characteristic with it. And honestly, we probably have an anticyclonic tornado in this spot here that's developed, or very close to it. This is North Road 2020, East Road 520, and 2230. So 2220, 2230, and East Road 520 is where this developing tornado is located. This is about 8 miles northeast of Mutual. So it might have a little anticyclonic tornado there, and then we'll have one here southwest of Mutual. Looks like maybe developing here as well, just on the southwest side of town. So you to be in your shelters immediately. A tornado warning was just issued from the National Weather Service. Let's see here. So Mutual, be in your shelters. Let's see here. Yep, so that's probably developing tornado in your location. So we have 2 with this storm. So this happened pretty quickly. Let me switch radars up here. So Fairview's coming up about 7:03. Clio Springs coming up at 7:07. And then this was our left mover earlier, going through Loyal and Hitchcock. We'll see if that one does anything when it gets into northern Oklahoma. For right now, it's not, it's still producing hail. Right, so let's see here. So you guys in Mutual, be in your shelters as this tornado warning storm is on top of you. The little anticyclonic tornado that we had here has weakened. It was never that strong to begin with, but it was enough of a signature that probably had a very small, weak tornado with it. It still might have a funnel and a little lowering. So that's 2 areas, one here and the other one over Mutual itself. So it's seek shelter in the lowest part of your building, home, etc., away from all outside walls and windows until this particular storm passes your location. So this is going to get a little messy and muddy because we have 1, 2, 3 cells. These are moving north, and they'll probably get pulled into this one. So we're going to have some cell mergers. And we might end up, believe it or not, end up with a potential secondary tornado as a result. So this rotation area is now east of Mutual by about 3 miles. And then we have, with that secondary storm, we do have a little velocity signature here, quite strong inbound. We'll see if it does anything. And we have what's left of the other signal there that's kind of falling apart. So they're going to put out a new tornado warning for this area for Chester, this spot right here. So this blue area is, that's let's see, almost 5,000 feet inbound winds up to 85 miles per hour, 90 miles per hour at 5,000 feet. So that would be a developing tornado in that situation. This is going to be northwest of Sealing and southwest of Chester. There is another circulation that's kind of developed in this region north of Mutual by about 8 miles. Very, very weak. So we probably have maybe 3 ongoing tornadoes at this time, or pretty close to it. This one's right on the Canadian River. East Road 740 and 2160 is that one. And we have this one here coming into Chester, so be in your shelters. So it should arrive here in the next 2-3 minutes. So be in your shelters for that one. Probability of a tornado is at 71%, so it's gone up. It's grouped both of these storms together, but that's where it's at right now. And then the other location of the tornado, probably on the east side of Mutual, and what was kind of in this little hook area. So that escalated quickly as we were sitting here watching it. Let's see, this one here in southern Kansas has a heightened reflectivity ball on it. Probability of a tornado has gone up to 56%. Very strong outbound winds in RFD with a little notation on the radar of a signature for rotation. So southwest of Etna by about 2 miles, this particular tornado is developing. There's our tornado warn product for rotation. And so this one's getting stronger. So Etna, be in your shelters right now. There's no warning, tornado warning from the National Weather Service for this storm, but there should be. So be in your shelters. This one's developing on radar rather quickly. It's no different signature-wise than the ones we've got going on right now in northwest Oklahoma. So go ahead and be in your shelters for this one. This gets in southern Kansas. Probability of the tornado is now at 60%. So Etna, be in your shelters as this storm hopefully will pass just to your south. It's moving more of an eastward fashion, so the hook itself, unless it rotates north, may pass just in the south end.
I'm a moderately magnitude storm, and I'm watching this storm that looks like it's about to split off on that banana-shaped storm northeast of Chickasha. It's going right toward Moore, and I'm noticing it has intensified rapidly here in the last 5 minutes.
All right, could barely make out what Russ was saying. Let's see, where was he at? I thought he was going to look at the Mangum storm, which is way out here. And he may have. These guys up here, let's make sure they're not doing anything. No, they're good for now. All these are good. They're all weak. Still got our one across North Texas, and that's it. So we'll watch to see if how they interact in our atmosphere once they get kind of closer to the metro area on the south side of town. And then we got the one on I-40 in Weatherford right now. Probability of a tornado is at 6% for that one. And the one out here in Cordell is 7%, or Mangum. So we'll see what happens with those for a little bit. It'll take some more time for those to develop. This one in Kingfisher is still just a hailmaker. So in reality, we're just back to this cluster here that is all merging right now. So this is a hot mess in northwest Oklahoma around Sealing. So there's a lot of tornado warnings out here. So what we're going to do is basically just do a group path, just to make this easy as far as tracking is concerned. All right, what we have here, moving probably to the east at 40. And of course, hail size is up around 2.75. So significant hail involved within these. I'm going to do just the leading edge. And let me see some of these others, make sure they're also about 40. And that one's about 32. All right. So I'm going to track the leading edge of where you get the hail and wind within that. Okay, so this mess here of 3 supercell storms colliding, we've got a couple embedded tornadoes within them. Longdale here in the next 10 minutes or so. Then you have Fairview, Cleo Springs, Ringwood at 7:06, Ames 7:11, Mino 7:12, Lahoma at 7:19. All right, now let's see if we can't find out where these guys are at on their intersections. So here we have 2 one here, 281 and south of 2274. So that's 1 weak circulation area. That's the anticyclonic one. Then you have a standard normal cyclonic down here at what is this, East Road 540 and another road 2230. All right, and then if we come down here to Sealing, let's see, there's Tologa. So we have a TVS associated with this one that's east of Tologa. Now, this isn't even in the warning box. Let me see. So Canton, be in your shelters. Longdale, be in your shelters. Update this. So we're looking into northwest Oklahoma. This is nowhere near Oklahoma City for right now. Probability of a tornado with these storms around 43%. And it looks like once they get to about 50 is where it seems to be a magic number. The individual circulations that we were tracking before, they've very obtuse. There's still some weak signatures here. This one's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 miles east of Sealing. Let's get some roads. Come up here. Let's split this. Let's see, 580, 2310. And let's see here.
Hey, AT, I'm coming into Canton right now. I'm going to be pulling up my stream just in a second.
All right. So these kind of all fell apart as far as their rotation couplets that they had. What's left of this one is passing northwest of Orion by about 1.5 miles. This one over here is still back on 2250 and East Road 490. That's northeast of Mutual by about 4 miles. South of Quinlan by about 5. So these cell mergers are basically disruptive is what happened. They all happened to start producing tornadoes at the same time, and then they all started merging with one another, and that kind of disrupted everything. So that was good timing. Okay, so for Oklahoma, let's back this out here. Those are the only storms right now that are tornadic, or potentially tornadic. Here in Texas, we have this one along across the border. You get one way down here south of Cisco in Texas, and that's it. The ones in between are struggling up to this point. That one in Kansas, you should probably go back and look at that one in Kansas again. Probability of tornadoes at 53%. This is one around Etna earlier. This will be heading up toward Ardmore later, and 281, and probably passing just north of Kiowa, maybe toward Hazleton. But that's another 45 minutes away. So right there is where it was getting strong. And then it was very strong right here. And then it diminished after it got east of Etna. So about right here was the last time we had a little like radar indicated tornadic signature. Alright, so that one's temporarily done for now as it reorganizes. It kind of has two little hooks trying to develop, one there and one on the back end. Alright, this guy here in between, just a standard heavy shower. Wilcumus, Kingfisher, or Hennessy rather, Dover. This storm has been a hail producer for its life cycle, not a tornado producer at all, which has been good. It's got a little wind with it though. There's some winds up here at Ames. Let's see, that's about 87 miles per hour at 2,200 feet off the ground. So for this one, our only tornado warned storm, the one north of Chester, still has the best odds of still keeping a tornado going with it. Location on this one is still, let's see, just moved from our last points. We'll move it east to, well, pretty much almost on 281, 2280, and just north of 500, and south of 480. So that's where that tornado is located. I don't see any debris with it though at this point. Let's see. It's going over a bunch of trees, farmland. On the velocity data, for this height, it's not well organized. It's 4,000 feet. So there is spotted reports in the area, though. But they do have confirmation that there is still a tornado around that area. Let's see, we had probability of a tornado is at 62%. Now, although we've had storm spotters reporting that they've seen a tornado in this region, where this hook is. So the circulations then would have passed now past 281 and coming up on 480 Road. So just east of 281 by about a mile on 480 Road is where this tornadic circulation should be located. Cleo Springs is in the path at 713 and Ringwood coming up at 727. Let's see, height-wise, we're at 3,800 feet. So that is tornado number 1, moving to the east at 41 miles per hour. The warning on this one, let's see here. The tornado warning remains in effect until 7 for southeastern Woods County, western Major, and east central Woodward counties. Confirmed tornado located 6 miles north of Chester, moving east at 40. Bose Junction is also included in the path. So that little hook echo is getting better defined in the data. All right, now there's two others. Well, there's 3 other storms. Attached to that one. So this little storm here over Chester is going to get pulled in and merged with this one, with the mesocyclone and that tornado. So we're going to see what happens when those two. Sometimes when a cell merger like that, it'll increase it in intensity, and sometimes it'll disrupt it. So we'll find out here very soon which way that's going to go. Same thing for this one here in southern Kansas. This storm here is about to get pulled in to the lowering the hook area. So that may cause it to produce a tornado. So Fairview, stay in your shelters for these storms. Orienta, stay in your shelters. Pretty much if you live in Major County, be in your shelters. All right, so while we focus on these guys up here in northwest Oklahoma, which are known tornadic, at least one's left that's tornadic, it's the one north of Chester. We have a lot of cell mergers right now happening, which is disrupting this region for these other storms. All right, the one east of there is still a hailmaker. One here in Kansas still trucking along. Let's go down to check around the metro and to southwest Oklahoma. One around Weatherford and Hydro, just your standard thunderstorm here. In Oklahoma City, this guy that moved into the Moore area, still just a standard weak storm. One down here near Elgin, also just weak, no big deal. So it just leaves this guy around Hobart. It's got a 60% chance of producing a tornado at this point on the probability side. So we'll look at that closer, and we'll go down to far, far southern Oklahoma. All right, so this guy will be, looks like crossing into Oklahoma here soon for Leon and Courtney, and or getting the front end of it. The tornadic part is going to stay in Texas for a little while longer, just north of Belcherville. Let's see. Still got a good rotational area width around 6,000 feet. So I don't see any debris signature. So right now I'm sure it's a good wall cloud lowering and maybe even a funnel. I don't see any storm tracker reports here of any visual confirmation. At one point they had confirmation, they said it lifted. So I'm not sure if it's touched back down or not, but that's the area for the rotation, which is north of Belcherville by about 1 mile. All right, so if you guys in far southern Oklahoma around Overbrook, Marietta, Thackerville, this supercell storm will be affecting you in about another hour. Okay, let's see, this one in Lone Wolf. So far, nothing tragic on that one. All right, so that means back in northwest Oklahoma we go. It's the only storm confirmation-wise that's producing a tornado. This is the one that's north of Chester. Let's see how the data looks. I'll say, interesting enough, the radar data was not impressive at all with this one, but storm trackers in the field did say they saw the bowl, which is the mesocyclone, the wall cloud, down very low and like little fingers underneath it. Now, when I'm looking at radar, I just don't see anything left, so it's probably lifted by now. Because we had that cell merger happen. Let me back this up. Yeah, there's some organizational things happening around these areas. Let's see here. All right, well, we still have official tornado warnings here in these storms, even though no strong independent circulations have taken back over. But until that storm passes you by, might as well stay in your shelters. Clio Springs, Orienta, Fairview, and Longdale, Isabella, Orion, and Chester itself. The probability of a tornado has gone down to 29%. Yeah, I can see a live shot from Chester. It's just a standard wall cloud. So there's two areas. So it's this one here for southwest of Fairview, and this one northeast of Chester are where our potential tornadoes are going to be. So for Longdale, let's see here. It'll be up on Highway 58, passing 1, 2, 3, 4 miles outside of town. Circulation center is located at 2470 and East Road 580. And then what was left of our Chester circulation, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 miles northeast of town on East Road 480 and 2350. So we have, it's a little confusing because there's been multiple tornado warnings issued because there was 3 cells involved. So I've outlined them. So there you go, 1, 2, and 3. This one, Lahoma, is just kicking up the wind still. This was our hailmaker, and then it had winds in around 80 plus miles per hour. Remember, about 2,000 feet. This wind is around 1,200 feet. So that means a lot of this is making it to the surface, and it is still measuring up around 85, 86. So at least about 70 plus mile per hour winds. It probably went through Lahoma. Yeah. And I'll be heading up on the west side of Carrier in Hillsdale. So not tornadic, but straight line winds at that speed can definitely do some damage. All right, let's take a look here. Cell merger happening in progress in southern Kansas here. Alright, we'll see what happens with that one. Let's see, for Kansas, that's the only tornadic storm in the southern part of the state. In far northern Kansas, there's a couple of storms up here, which are hailmakers moving northeast. These are struggling here. This eventually will congeal into one supercell. This one's just going to keep on going by itself, producing some hail, and then this one will come in behind it through Garfield and Enid. So eventually you'll have to deal with this cluster, this mess. That's it for northwest Oklahoma. Let's go back here to central. So just some showers here. This guy's fell apart that went through town. This one up here is still not doing anything. These guys struggling, falling apart. And we got the Hobart storm. Still struggling. So everything's struggling except for this area and this area. Let me look at the VAD wind profiles for all these. So here in central Oklahoma, speeds have picked up. Let's see, we're at 25 knots. There's a southeast wind, and it doesn't turn too much actually on this data. So we're only looking at about 45 degrees of turning here in central Oklahoma. Let's see what it looks like in southwest. Southwest Oklahoma, look at all this turning. Look how it goes around from the southeast to the southwest. So way better directional shear there than here. Let's go northwest Oklahoma. Oops, yeah. Having a tough time turning with height up around 7,000 feet. So a little better turning than here in Oklahoma City, but not much better. Better shear is down here in, looks like southern, southwestern Oklahoma. All right, let's do... Let's go back here into Texas. All right, so Nocona, or Nocona, wall cloud reported from this little hook echo here. This is a tornado warned storm. Probability of tornadoes at 76%. And there's our rotational couplet. Still looks like it's going to be probably a nice wall cloud, maybe a brief funnel. Looks like no confirmation of any touchdowns. It's right on Farm Market Road 2634 and coming up on 32 or 3428 and east of Farm Road 103. So that's where that's located. So if you live in Courtney or Leon, be in your shelters for this one. The hail will get you in the Orr area. So we'll be putting it to Love County here soon. Let's do a storm track way down here. Let's go. Yeah, it didn't pick up any towns, did it? Nope.
Aaron, I'm going to take a look at that storm near Hobart. I think the storms down here earlier kind of did a number on the atmosphere. Temps are starting to recover a little bit, still struggling. Dew points are on the rise, they're in the upper 60s now, still sufficient shear. We'll see what happens in the next couple of hours.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. All right. So this storm will continue to affect far southern Oklahoma, coming up on the I-35 corridor. I was going to draw a storm track on this to see if I couldn't get a little better look at it. 32 miles per hour to the east-northeast. Let me track just the edge of where the hail and wind is going to be. Oh, let's not do that one. Try that again. Okay, why are you doing this? There we go. So you're looking at Marietta about close to 7:30. Okay. Oh, thanks. Okay, so this guy up here in Carrier we talked about, this little blue zone, still packing winds up around 80 miles per hour. That passed on the west side of Carrier by about a mile or two, and still kind of hugging that same corridor. So if you live in Hillsdale, past west of you, this is running right along State Highway 132. Let's see here, it's over 340 right now, 350, 360. So 320 coming up. So this can be some damaging straight line winds. All right, those winds have come down just a little bit with that new scan. 86, 77, 80s, low 80s, so no more 90s. Let's see, this thing did have at least some reports recently. There's hail up to golf ball size there. Our tornado warned storms, everything kind of fell apart. All right, let me switch different radar views. Let's see this one in Kansas. All this merger of all that nonsense looks like it's finally coming to an end. So now that that's over, we'll see how it tries to reorganize. So keep your heads up over here in Attica, Anthony, Harper County, Waldron, Hazleton. This one here will end up becoming tornadic now that it's stopped being interfered with. Let's see here. So all the tornado warnings for all these areas have since expired. Nothing new showing up. Still got the wind between Carrier and Hillsdale. Let's see. This one. So yeah, those stronger winds are west of you in Hillsdale, right along 132, and east Buffalo Road, or West Buffalo Road. So you're still having pockets of wind up here around 70 plus miles per hour. This is only a few hundred feet off the ground from the radar view, so that's making it down. So you guys up in Nash, this area of wind is coming toward you, but it's getting weaker each passing scan. Central Oklahoma, still just some elevated showers. Let's go take a look at that Hobart and Texas one again. So here's the Texas one.
The stream should be coming up from Fairview.
Alright, so we have our circulation here, still across the Texas state line, just south of Farm Market Road 2953, that splits east and west, just south of there. Alright, let's go over to Hobart. So this one has a little bit of a hook echo on the back end of it. Other than that, it's not doing much. So I was 2 storm chasers, actually I think 3 en route to this one. When everything else dies, I was like, well, what do you pick? Alright, so that's it. So we have 3 clusters. 1, 2, and then maybe this one will turn into 1. Otherwise, 2 main ones. Did hear some thunder. Roof shook a little bit here at the house. The roof shook, camera shook, I should say. So, got ourselves a little thunderstorm coming in to the village, southwest Edmond. So that little guy right there looks like this. Not a big deal. Okay. Let's see here. Let me go with this guy. Our shear is still mostly linear, not a lot of veering with height, so the directional shear isn't really there here in central Oklahoma for these storms to work with. Alright, so this southern storm is our tornadic storm. So the data in this one continues to suggest that the tornadic part of the storm is getting stronger. Let's go track that one. Probability of a trail is at 39%, so that's gone up a little bit. Alright, so you guys over here in Courtney, in Leon, this developing tornado and this particular storm is heading in your direction. Let's do a path on that one again. Still keeps it, the tail end of it here is still Marietta, which I believe was like 730. Passing looks like south of Ardmore. So kind of in between right now, the way it looks. This hailstorm in Kansas is up to 2.75 inches in diameter. Still a big hail maker. Hazleton here in the next minute. Then we've got Anthony 7:32, Bluff City at 7:44. Now the back end here where the potential trader would be located is still a few minutes after that. For Hazleton, you're just at the front end where you're getting some of the leading edge of the rain. Let's see, velocity data. So right now, so north of Kiowa by about 3 miles, North Star, I believe is where that was. Let's see, Rattlesnake Trail and 281 is where that developing wall cloud would be located. Okay, over here, that straight line wind that we saw coming in around the Hillsdale area. Let's take a look at that. So it's between you and Nash, and these have come down a little bit, still holding it to the 70s. And this is on State Highway 132. So just outside of Nash by about 2 miles. 70-mile-per-hour winds in that area, and then coupled with some 60s here and there from Helena to Jet, this whole region. Standard stuff for a severe storm and some hail. Okay, the rest of the stuff looks like, what's this? Ames. So might have a little circulation here and here. If so, this is at 560 and 2640. This one's over here at 2680. And just west of 2690. Let me look at this. Let's look at this one. Right now, nothing overly impressive. We'll see if anything does come of it, though. This little storm around Alva behaving itself. And that's it. I think, let's see, Chance said he's going to stream up. Alright, so he's got his stream up now. Yeah, that one in Texas, the report was it was a wall cloud spotted. That was getting a little stronger. Okay, so we're basically just watching these storms to see if they eventually produce a tornado, which they're not currently doing. Let's see how this has been moving. Oh, that one in Kansas is just outflow dominated right now. So that will not be tornadic unless you get some little eddy on the southern end that just kind of spins up real quick as a little baby tornado. Let's go look at the worn-on forecast and see what it has these guys doing. Oh, I meant to look this up too. They were at Henrietta an hour ago. Shoot. Wish we would have known that. Look at that detail. Nice. So when these mobile Doppler radars are on the move, and they sometimes get in the right spot. These guys are down here in Texas, looks like. Okay, so let's see how this new data looks coming in. All right, worn on forecast. How's it gonna do? Let's go to, what time is it? So 7. This is 7 o'clock. So now we'll go to 8. So this thing produces a storm out of nowhere around Chickasha, comes up the turnpike in the Moore and Norman area. Keeps that one along the Red River still going. And then it has that cluster in northwest Oklahoma. still going, moving more east towards Stillwater and Tulsa by the time we get to 9:30. And there's a couple in Kansas. All right, now that's just one of the members. So let's go back to 8 o'clock and let's see some other members. There's one. All right. Let's try this. So this is a probability of a 1 tornado report between now and the next 15 minutes, like 30%. Once it gets to I-35, drops to 25. Once it gets east of 35, drops to 15, 10. Same thing for one in Kansas. This is the rotation predicting part of the storm. Has significant rotation for that Kansas one and the one that we're looking at northern Oklahoma, but only for like the next hour. After that, it really loses it. So honestly, to tell you the truth, this is another situation where storms didn't quite behave as expected, and the cap was still pretty strong. Kept most of them at bay, and the storms that did develop moved through where that cap was strong. They'd be elevated showers. That was about it. And then the ones that did manage to break through, they split with left-moving supercells and right-moving, which kept them in a perpetual recycling phase. So they didn't have long to try to produce tornadoes. So all in all, that's good news. All right. This one up here in Kansas, pretty good wind with it. Up around Hazleton, 78. There's 80 miles per hour. So that's on Highway 2 and Scott Canyon Road, I think I saw in there. Tri-City Road. Coming up on Hargis Road. All in around Hazleton, Kansas. Alright, our wind down here in Oklahoma, the north end. These little blue areas, I think around 50 to 60. Yeah. Not that bad. This Noka storm actually has a hook on the back end of it. Nothing rotation wise. So Enid, you've been hit with 2 storms just to give you a lot of rainfall. So you might have some flash flooding. Had some hail in the area. up to golf ball size. Oklahoma, here's a little wind gust of 61 miles per hour that was recorded. And Drummond's got some hail. Algorithms say up to 2 inches, and Weather Service confirmation of golf balls, 1 3/4 inches. So this storm around Ames and Drummond probably has the best probability of producing a tornado. Let's do a little analysis on that one. So got a pretty good hail corp, around 25 to 30,000 feet. Storm itself, low top supercell. It's only around 45,000 feet. What a difference in the atmosphere up there. It's the lack of that low level moisture. Storms couldn't grow as tall. But for as tall as it can get, it's got a pretty good hail core with it. Oh, they finally put a tornado warning on that one in Kansas. All right, so Hook Echo here on the south side of Hazleton has formed in the reflectivity data. Look, went from nothing to there it is. 2 scans. So for Kansas, let's do a track on this one. Anthony at 7:39, Bluff City 7:53, Argonia at 8:03. This is for this tornado warned storm here in far southern Kansas, Harper County. And let's see, tornado warning goes until 8. Severe storm capable of producing a tornado was located near Hazleton, moving east northeast at 40. This cell to the south of it's probably going to end up merging with it. And same with this one over here in Bluff City. So there's a lot of cell mergers still left to do, which will disrupt things. We'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, if you're in Hazleton, you still stay in your shelters. The velocity data. Inbound winds. That was in the blue, around 80 plus miles per hour. 70 for the inbound and outbound to the actual storm. The particular tornado part of it is a small, weak tornado. And that is around Southwest 150th Avenue and Southwest 70th. Southwest 70 and Southwest 150. And that is on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 miles southeast of Hazleton now. Now, I don't have a correlation coefficient marker that anything has touched down and done damage, but the velocity data is getting much stronger. And it's getting very noisy. Let me see if this guy can do. That was a little better. So this is our little circulation center. Again, southwest 150th and 70. So this is our first official tornado. Looks like that would have touched down in the last, what, 30 minutes or more. Well, let's see, we've got a couple of chasers, see if they have anything. Couldn't see much with his feed. Let's see. He doesn't have anything. So this guy's on the back side of it trying to chase it and catch it, so he's not going to be able to see it from his view. So he's about 4 miles west of where the tornado would be located. So winds are picking up a little bit more up here. 93 inbound on the mesocyclone and 70 outbound going into the storm itself. So the RFD, it's got about an 80 coming down. So another cell merger taking place. We'll see what happens with this developing tornado at that time. Alright, so here in Oklahoma City, things are getting quiet. Keep an eye on the storm out here in Alfalfa and Carnegie. Right now, it's just been struggling to do much. Nothing else there. Then we've got our storm way down there in southern Oklahoma, so let's go take a look at that. Alright, so this is our southern Oklahoma. New tornado warning just issued. Again for Love County. This will include Marietta and Overbrook, south of Ardmore. So this area of circulation is over the town of Leon, in that vicinity, just to your northwest. So we'll be coming up here on 78, about 1 mile north of Leon. Let's do a storm track down there. It's a big storm. So there's your little hook echo over the town of Leon. So Marietta about 812 for the tornadic part. The front end, we call the forward flank, already has the heavy rain, the lightning already on top of you now. Then you'll start to get some hail a little bit, and then we'll see what's left of this circulation at that time. But you have time to get in your shelter, so make your way. Same thing for Overbrook. Ardmore, you might as well, we talked about this before, sometimes things happen just outside the polygon for where the tornado warning is supposed to cover. In other words, sometimes those tornadoes do some deviant behavior. If you feel comfortable, you can head on over to your shelters until this whole severe storm passes you. Probability of a tornado is at 18% though, so it's quite low on the algorithms compared to what it's been in the past. Let's see. So we're still looking about Highway 76 and 1.5 to 2 miles north There's 2140 is the north end. This is down here in Love County, so tornado warning storm that's had a history of producing tornadoes in North Texas for off and on for a while. This stuff south of southwest of Dallas, no big deal for those guys right now. Let's go check this storm from this view. All right, we'll see what happens with this one over time. What time is it? 7:30. So at this point, the low-level jet's kicking in. So let's go back up to northwest Oklahoma. So very strong RFD within this thunderstorm in southern Kansas still. So this is now over the town of Corwin. So between Anthony and Manchester being your shelters as well. Probability of a tornado is at 89%. So the algorithms like the idea of this one merging to make the potential of a tornado stronger. And you might get some little vortices that spin around in other areas that rotate around this main column. Our storms in Oklahoma. It's a little hail, little wind. Okay. So when this storm was over Capron, there apparently was a little wind with it. I don't see a strong rotation signature. But there was a back end area and reflectivity that was suspicious. What was the report? Multiple injuries wind related. 2 miles east, 1 mile north of Capron. So it's basically in this area right here. I don't know, I don't see anything. There's a little packet of wind that went through this little band right here of red. That was some straight line wind, so I don't know, maybe it blew something over and hit a couple people, I don't know. Nothing tornadic, at least in data. All right. Let's see. So this is where our tornado is located now, 1, 2, 3, 4 miles east of Corwin. This is right along Southwest 40 Road, east of Southwest 110th Avenue. So this is our tornado here. Let's see here. So it's going to be coming up on Highway 179. It's currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 9 miles west of that. Moving pretty much east. But Anthony, make sure you're in your shelters. So we have a tornado, even located here by the tornado product of that area. I don't see anything on the correlation coefficient. So let's see, where are we at? 1,500 feet. So if there is a tornado here, there's not much for it to pick up. There's a few bushes out here, and that's about it. So there's not much for it to be. It has to pick up something to throw up in the atmosphere for the radar to see it, for our tornado debris signature to show. But that is the strongest, most well-defined supercell right now in the area, and it's a convoluted mess now. This is the original cell, because this cell here has merged into it. Still merging as we speak. So in this case, that storm happened to like that extra wind that it absorbed with it for now. Now it has not strengthened the tornado. It's still a small one. Probability is 87%. All right, down here in Oklahoma, things are still looking good with those. So if you live over here in Anthony and Bluff City and Freeport and southern Kansas, Manchester, just go ahead and stay in your shelters. You're under a tornado warning as the storm makes its way toward your area over the next half hour. You're already on the leading edge of the heavy rain and some lightning. Eventually here some hail will be thrown in. Let's take a look at southern Oklahoma. How's our storm down here? We have two of them. This one here, behaving, and this one here still has that little look appendage to it. Kind of running right along the highway. What is that, 52? How is this? No, 32. On 32. So between there and 9B that curls back west, which is also known as Batson Road. So it's kind of bounded between those. Moving to the east. Now there seems to be a little bit of a neighborhood out here, some sort. Hopefully you guys are in your shelters for this one. It's in Love County. Let me see something. So I'm pulling up to the fire department, Love County Fire, on their radio down there. See if anything comes across. For this tornado warned storm, that's moving out of the Leon area. It'll be at I-35 at about 10 minutes after the hour. The as far as the Atlantic circulation part of it. Now this is not a well-formed tornado. This is a broad circulation. Algorithms are quite low at 18%. Let's see. It's fine. Yeah, these storms are all struggling. That's what a cap will do for you. You know, honestly, if I think back, a lot of the stuff we use now in meteorology to look at these indices, we didn't have those before. But we, of course, always knew what a cap was and how it can hold and prevent storms from forming. I wonder how many times in the past where we've had days just like this where it was a little high on the indices. We never knew it because we didn't have those types of data outputs to look at. And yet it wasn't a big deal, and the cap held, and we get a couple storms out of it, and that's it. And therefore everybody didn't go all crazy about it. But now we have all these high indices to see. It's the old adage, you don't know what hurts you. You know, you don't know what hurts you, kind of a deal. If you can't see it, well, then you don't even know to get worried about it. So now that we see it, we get worried about it. And I think, maybe it lives better the other way. But we didn't know. It didn't hurt us. All right, let me go back here in central Oklahoma. Take a look at this guy. Alfalfa. Let me see if anybody has a stream underneath it. See what it looks like. Looks like anybody if they're on it or just driving en route. All right. I'm not hearing anything from the fire department down there. So 32, and it's coming into that little neighborhood area we talked about. Chisholm Trail, Tulsa Drive, Awoka, Diamond Head Drive, Chickasha, Duncan Perry, Arrowhead Drive, Falcon, Fairway Golf Club, south of Pike Road or 3185 and 96 coming up soon. So that's where that circulation area is located. This is kind of running along 32, but on the south side. Let's see. So intensity's picked up here on the velocity data. Yeah, this last scan. Then it faded again. So it's right along 32 right now. In that neighborhood I mentioned. Don't have a debris signature with it. So this one was moving to the east at about 23 miles per hour up to golf ball size hail. All right, that's way down there in southern Oklahoma between Thackerville and Ardmore. So Marietta's in the direct path of that storm. Let's see. So let's go back up to our guy up here in Kansas and elsewhere, these other storms in Oklahoma. These are still hail makers, about golf ball size. Covington, about golf ball size. And then this guy up here in Kansas. Let's see what happened after that big cell merger completed.
Aaron, I'm headed north out of Carnegie. I've got my stream up, but there's nothing to see.
Oh, that was Paul. Let's go see. Oh, there he is. Excellent. Okay. So where was I? Oh, yeah. Thanks, Paul. So our little circulation that was here has broadened out. So you have your inbound wind in this configuration for your RFD. Your inflow of the storm is in this configuration. It spans 1, 2, 3, 4 miles. It's elongated convergence axis, so it's not currently tornadic. You will sometimes get little eddies, little vortexes that do spin around the leading edge, and those usually is what turns into the tornado. And on radar, they'll be a little harder to visualize at first until they get into that position. So there's a delay from where a storm chaser will see something, and then it'll happen, and then the radar will see it on the next scan. But that's how the next tornado forms. So we'll see if anything happens in that area. It's a favorable area. It's just right now doesn't look like anything is currently ongoing. So Anthony, stay in your shelters for this one. All right. So this one, this circulation feature is so far back in to the core of the rain. It'd be completely occluded from view. But the location of where this couplet would be forming and located is Southwest 60th Avenue and Southwest 20th Road. Let's see, that's about from Highway 2, that's 2 miles south on 70 Avenue and Northwest 60th. It's where you're...
AT, I am live. I got a beautiful shot of the storm coming in from the southwest in roughly El Reno, possibly Yukon.
Okay, we'll take a look at what Russ has. He's looking at this guy here. So he's parked somewhere. Who knows? Maybe he's on I-40. Let's go see. All right. Yeah, that's the back end here. So he's probably parked where he could get into a line of path where it'll just come right toward him. So we'll see it come in through these trees. Roger that, I see it. Thanks, Russ. Man, I used to box in college, and I haven't boxed and put on my gloves or pads or anything in like over 20 years. And so at the gym the other day, I told this trainer, I said, hey, he's MMA boxing, so he's been doing that stuff for a while. I said, man, I want to go back and do some more of that again. I said, let's hit them. Let's just do some, routine stuff. And of course, I'm going at it like I'm back in the ring with Mike Tyson and with muscle memory. And so it's a little sloppy, but it's getting there. And I didn't realize how out of shape I was. Forgot about how rough boxing was. It is not easy. Anyway, the point being is, from hitting stuff so much, it made everything weak. Like all my bones and muscles and my tendons, like grabbing, doing the mouse and stuff, is just all, like this. It just, you want to shake it out. Tore me up. It's like, whoa, that was good stuff. It's a lot different at, in your mid 20s than when you're at 50. It's a good workout though. I sweated. All right, so we're basically just watching these storms, not doing much in northern Oklahoma currently, and then the one tropical warning storm is in southern Kansas. It went through a complete cell merger, so we'll have to see how it evolves. It'll still have potential to produce additional tornadoes, but right now it's not doing so. And there's actually two supercells. There's that will end up with tornadic circulations. So the original one here, and there's another one here, north of Caldwell. Let's see, what highway is this? 49, and just south of 44. So there might be a separate developing tornado in that location here soon, but that's it for going on in Kansas right now. All right, and then our guys down here, just regular old thunderstorms. Let's go look at southern Oklahoma again. All right. So this one had a confirmed brief touchdown. It only lasted a few seconds. This was just a couple minutes ago. Just when it was north of 32, it looks like. So right there. That's north of 9B, north of 32. It's in this little area here, which is a creek, some bushes. Great place for a brief touchdown, right? There are a few farmhouses east of there. There's one right there. There's another one right there, and then along its path. Alright, so this new track will take it between Marietta and Overbrook, well south of Ardmore. So this is I-35 and Rennick Road and Oswalt Road. At about 10 minutes after the hour, so about 20 minutes from now. So the speed is still pretty much holding. So be in your shelters if you live along I-35 between Overbrook and Marietta for this developing tornadic thunderstorm. Yeah, the Durant radar down there looks a little bit better organized. It has a little bit better of a hook. You see right there. So a little ball right there is where that brief tornado is located. So it's not impressive on radar currently. We're at about 9,000 feet. So it'd have to be a big tornado to make a really good visual aid indication. At 9,000 feet, the mesocyclone would be really strong. So we'll see what happens over the next few minutes, see if it changes. See what this thing looks like. All right, so we're up around overshooting top. So if you could actually see it visually, you know, the big white cloud, trace it. Let's see what I want. This one here. You would see the white cloud, the anvil blowing off like this fashion, and then you'd see this one cumulus, like a little bubble on top. So that's what we call the overshooting top. That's the center of the updraft region, where you would find your tornado and etc. down below. Doesn't have a whole lot of big hail with it, honestly, either. Let's see, rotation characteristics. Nothing strong in mid-level at all on that one. Let me go weaker. Yeah, just nothing out there really too strong. .46. All right, so I think we might have another report. Yeah, very brief ground rotation to my northwest with a rapidly rotating wall cloud. So basically just a little bowl to the ground, rotating wall cloud, and occasionally you'll get a little finger that touches down out of it for seconds at a time. So location on this is Dixon Road and 3228, coming up on 3228 and Dixon Road. For the mile markers on 35, let me read the warning because you should put that in here. Mile marker 35 between 13 and 27. So Overbrook, Bernieville, Lake Murray, Marietta, Ardmore, all of you guys are in the path of the storm itself. So the last known tornado circulations were recorded about a mile east of 9 and 32. All right, we watch for this one. Let's see the one in central Oklahoma. Still holding its own, still small. Wonder if I can see that one. right, let's go back up in northern Oklahoma and Kansas again. All right, we'll start with Kansas. So, where are we at here? Okay. So, earlier we mentioned the potential circulation there, and then we had the old one probably somewhere in here. Let's go find it. So, this one, little eddies, but nothing major. And this one here, man, it just fell apart. Came completely occluded and disappeared. Alright, it's good news for this one too. Now technically the tornado warning still remains for Freeport and Bluff City. There's nothing on radar right now, but stay in your shelters for another few more minutes and it'll pass. And there's no warnings for that on this other one. Nothing has formed to trigger that yet. Alright, and then these guys in here in North Oklahoma, they're all garbage. They have a configuration more of a wind event than it does any tornadic. Let's see, this one here in Hennessy, maybe given another half hour, maybe something can come of it. It's got to get better organized than that. Alright, so really, let's take a look at some live shots. So there's Russ. Oh, don't do that. Go back. They didn't like me going full screen. Oh, he ended the video. That's why. That's bad timing. Let's see. So, if I no chance, he's basically was driving underneath that thing trying to find something. And Paul was underneath it. He was trying to find something. All right. So we've got one cluster of storms here in North Texas. We have this one cluster of storms here in northern Oklahoma, and our third cluster here in southern Kansas. Hey, models did really well at splitting all that up. They did very good. They hinted we'd have a strong cap. They hinted that once they got east of I-35, they start to fall apart. So we're going to find out if that's going to happen. They did say we'd have some pretty good tornado parameters, though. That didn't do much. Okay, so Hennessy, so that's the strongest thunderstorm near Douglas, just on the fact of some hail. Back up into Kansas, those warnings have since expired for the tornado and hasn't done anything since. So that's it. So really the only warning we got is down there in southern Oklahoma. And then, so I'm going to stick with that, and then If it's falling apart, we'll find out. Let's see. Probability of a tornado has dropped to 3%. It's got no strong indications on radar at all. It's got no confirmation recently of any activity. I know there's storm chasers on it. Look at this other radar. Still has a nice hook on it though. So from this radar here, what I'm showing you from the next rad from Frederick, it's about 10,000 feet elevation. And you don't really see a good hook echo on this pattern. You know, it's it would have been stretching like from around here and then kind of doing like this. But you can't see this low level part of the storm, so you miss out on that feature. So the Durant radar, which I can't pull up on this system, at least now, maybe that'll change later, but it still has a pretty little hook there on the back end. So that area, Rice Road and Rennick Road, in about 3-4 minutes. And then I-35 next. We'll see if something around Marshall gets organized. I think last time I looked at this like 10 minutes ago. Still hasn't changed its configuration yet, but we'll see what happens. It's a lot of tornado icons up here west of Anthony. Did a little damage, roof turned off, tornado spotted, mobile home damage. Just it was east of Corwin. So these are delayed reports, but they did come in. Alright, this little guy coming in to the west side of the metro is still just a small hail producer. It's about it. Nothing else is formed out there in western Oklahoma. So we still continue with our tornado warning storm. If you guys in Overbrook, make sure you be still. Hang in your shelters. Should have been there 20 minutes ago, but lowest floor, away from all outside walls and windows. The hook echo is about to pass through. Let's get an update on the warning. So I think they issued a new warning to cover it. Yep. Let's see. Let's switch this. This one. All right. So Dixon comes in at 847 and Mansfield at 848. Long term. Movement was to the northeast at 24 miles per hour, golf ball size hail. And let's go with the wording on it. Tornado warning for western Johnson County, northeastern Love, southeastern Carter, northwestern Marshall. Let's see. A storm capable of producing a tornado is located 4 miles southwest of Overbrook, moving northeast at 25. Ardmore, Dixon, Mansfield, Lake Murray, and Overbrook, and Interstate 35 between mile marker 18 and 29. So the potential tornado will cross I-35 here between mile marker 18 and 29 here momentarily. So Oswalt Road and Rice Road was the last intersection of where the rotation would be located. But now it's going to be on Campbell Road and 35 here right now. It should be. Still nothing very strong in the velocity data. Well, looks like they've had a confirmation again of a touchdown. A confirmed tornado is located near Overbrook, moving northeast at 25. Damaging tornado in golf ball size hail. Again, mile marker 18 and 29 on I-35. So, local broadcast media confirmed on New Hope Road, northwest of Marietta. They had a visual confirmation of a touchdown. So stay in your shelters for a few more minutes. This is on the east side of I-35 at this point. So radar wise down here, because the beam height is so high, you're not going to really have a really good signature until you get a rather larger tornado that's doing a little bit of damage. Those are our best indicators. That's kind of after the fact. Really doesn't look any different than it always had before. Alright, so still around 77. Kind of on that county line of Love County is where that last known circulation center is located down here in southern Oklahoma. So next intersection, Caldwell Road and Mitchell Road. And then we've got just a little neighborhood up here, Hampton Road and the county line and 77. Go back up here to north. This thing's just a beast of a haymaker. Low top supercell up to 45,000 feet, and there's our hail core within it. Hill size golf balls. It's got some stones in there a little larger than that. Not much on rotation though. So at some point, this might be one that gets its act together. They said somewhat configured, but hasn't done it yet. It's had plenty of time. See, dew points here are 75. Yeah. Alright, our guy down here has drifted north a little bit because it lost its hook. That was kind of holding it and anchoring it more. So in this particular case, as a result, the storm jotted to the north. So if I go back in time, so this back end will clip in the southeast sections of Ardmore.
off for the night?
I will be right now. I'm covering the Ardmore storm.
Okay, I'm in Orlando.
Yeah, I see a bunch of low-hanging scud all underneath that thing, but otherwise there's nothing on radar. Oh, that little cell out here in Union City finally fell apart.
Best I got.
All right. All right, we're still watching this tornado warned storm in far southern Oklahoma, just east of 35, down around the Ardmore area, between there and Overbrook, moving toward Dixon. There has not been any more visual confirmations since a brief few second touchdown back when it was west of Marietta.
Attention EMS, being out to 11769 King U Street, box 307 for elective. Attention EMS, being out to 11769 King U Street for elective only.
And that was the fire department for Love County I had on there in the background, just in case there was a tornado touchdown doing any type of damage that would get picked up. All right, so Weather Service dropped the other tornado warning that was purple, which indicates a visual sighting because there hasn't been anything mentioned in a while. So it's back just to red polygon. So the update on this one is tornado warning remains in effect until 8:45 for western Johnson, northeastern Love, and southeastern Carter and northwestern Marshall counties. Severe storm capable of producing a tornado was located near Lake Murray, moving north at 25. Let's see, we got Ardmore, Dixon, Mansville, Lake Murray, Overbrook, and mile marker 35 between 22 and 29. That's for the back end of this thing. The little rotation area has shifted to Cisco Road and 77, where that's now currently located. I wonder if chance had a stream up. Nope. All right, so this hook is a little better organized. Velocity data has not increased yet. It's not giving up. All right. These storms in North Texas, though, are not nearly as robust as the ones in prior outings. And these guys down here are falling apart also. Okay, stop here in northern Oklahoma, Orlando. That's where Chance was, and this will be passing probably on the north side of Stillwater. May pass you by a mile or two. This, however, I've seen some of the shots of it, and it's just a lot of low-hanging scud. Scud is short for scary-looking clouds, but nothing tornadic. And there's nothing here in Oklahoma City. Alright, so it's going to be a quiet evening, looks like, for us here. Okay, so we have on the new data a little better couplet that formed coming up on Lim Roberts Road. Now this is over the lake down here, literally right across the lake. Alright, new scan came in, weaker than the last one, which was already weak. So again, stay in your shelters here between Dixon and Mansville. Just know that this storm has been very weak on the back end where the hook echo is. Not seeing any reports, not hearing any reports. Right. All right, so that's the deal. I think that storm is going to continue to slowly go from a steady state process here of just kind of holding its own to falling apart here little by little. Now that it's east of 35. And it's 8:30, so the cap keeps building in stronger. So I'm going to let all that stuff go. I'll keep an eye on it here behind the scenes. If it turns out to produce something that's more significant, that's actually seen by radar, or I get some kind of reports, and get back on for that. Otherwise, use my weather app down there, AT's Weather to Go. Same thing up in northern Oklahoma. For you guys up in Stillwater, that's just a hailstorm so far that's been up there. What people are seeing on that storm that's up around Orlando is a lot of scud, low-hanging clouds, and it's not oriented properly, so I don't see it becoming tornadic. If that does happen or change, it's going to take some time. It might eventually, but not for right now. So if it does, I just get back on for that. So I'm going to take a break and kind of keep an eye on things, get a little something to eat. And if it looks like something track's going to come back on, I'll do so. If not, that'll be the end of it for me. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Hope you don't see me again. It's good news if you don't. And thanks for checking in, for following all social media, following the page that you're on, getting this, subscribing to it, getting the notifications, all that stuff. Weather app, again, free. It's called AT's Weather to Go. It's on Apple and Google Play. It'll track the tornadoes with you. It'll give you alerts as well. I think that's about it for now. So I'm gonna get out here just for at least a little bit. Hopefully I don't see you for the rest of the night. If I do, well, we'll see what happens. You guys be good. Glad it kind of ended up being kind of quiet. Cap held most areas, and then it kind of kept most of those storms in check, which is what it's supposed to do in an environment otherwise suited for tornadic activity. So it's a win. Another one for us. All right. See you guys later. Bye.